started. So today we shall look at the reading test, and it's important to understand that in IELTS marking scheme, a reading test is given a very strict marking scheme. So it's totally different from the other schemes or the other skills that you get to take. For instance, in your listening test, if you score about 26 over 40, that may take you to about 6.0 or 6.5 or thereabout in listening test. But in reading test, 26 over 40 would give you about, you get. This is simply because the reading test is the simplest areas. The reading test is the simplest. Why do they feel it's the simplest? Because they feel, unlike in listening test, you do three different things at the same time. You read, you listen, you write at the same time. Remember, when you're listening, when you're taking on your listening test, you're listening attentively, you're also reading the content, right? And when you hear your answer, you quickly write. So you must combine these through these three things at the same time. And they also feel, outside the multitasking that you're doing in listening test, they feel listening test will not give you the opportunity to have a replay. You don't get to listen to the audio again. It's just once. So any answer you miss is gone forever. Do you understand this? But in reading test, IELTS examiners feel that you have the opportunity to read as many times as you can if you're a fast reader. They feel your answers are right there before you, staring at you in the face. It is just for you to identify the answer and pick. They also feel you don't have anything to think about as regards spellings of your answers because they're already written in a passage. All you need to do is copy and paste. So they have a lot of reservations as to why it is the simplest, right? So because of all of these, IELTS examiners now have a more strict marking scheme, right? So you need to put in a lot of effort to be able to attain a good band score. So to do that, today let's look at what we call the important keys. These important keys will always be the 3 T's, and these include the trick, also known as the bracket trick. And then we have the tips and we have the techniques. So these are important keys you want to bring in when you're taking on your reading to help you have a more accurate and effective reading experience to achieve a high band score. So we shall begin with the first T, which is the trick. So to apply your trick, or first and foremost, what does it entail? What is the trick all about? The bracket trick is the practice of putting brackets around it should be there. Part of your answer. It could be a letter, it could be a word, it could be words, 2 words. You put them in brackets, in separate brackets, not putting 2 words in one bracket. No. You get to put them in separate brackets. Especially when you feel it can actually fly, but I'm not really sure if it's needed. Do you understand this? So you now put it in bracket. So let's understand how the bracket trick is being applied during your reading test. The bracket trick application works effectively when you, or if you adhere strictly to the instructions of the particular section you are treating at each point in time. The accurate and appropriate application of the bracket trick works exactly and correctly if and if only you can apply or adhere strictly to the instruction indicated at the section you are treating at each point in time. You know, in listening test, there are different instructions. There are sections that want just one word and a number, right? There are sections that want two words. Some section want three words. So if a section says no more than one word, please do not write more than one word. Anything you do that goes beyond the instruction makes your answer incorrect. So let's understand this. In reading tests, the application of this bracket trick works or begins from sections that state no more than, write no more than two words and or a number. That's in reading test. That's only when you begin to apply the bracket trick. You recall that in listening test, the application of bracket trick begins from no more than one word, right? Because you get to listen to a word or listen to the audio and you hear a word. So that word, you're not so sure if that word was pronounced in the singular form or in a plural form. So you now want to consider, should I just put the S, which would make it a plural word, in bracket? You just leave the S in bracket and the main word stays in a singular form. I don't know, are you getting this explanation? So that's for listening test. You begin to apply the bracket trick from one word section. Then you move on to two words and three words. But in reading tests, you do not apply the bracket trick around the instructions that say no more than one word. Don't apply it. Don't apply the bracket trick. The reason is because in reading tests, any word that is supposed to appear as a one-word answer, or any section that you're supposed to have your one-word answers, the words are to be picked from the passage, from the sentences. Is that correct? And each word used in a sentence is in the most appropriate form for that sentence to be grammatically correct. I don't know if you understand this. When you read a sentence, every word in that sentence is in the most perfect form for that sentence to be correct. So what do you need to do? Just copy the one word the way it is and write as your answer. You don't need to consider, should I put S in brackets beside it? Is not necessary. Because when you put one word, if you put an S in bracket in front of the word, it would make the form of the word in that sentence to be affected. And definitely the sentence structure would be altered. So in reading tests, any section that says no more than one word, all you need to do is copy and paste. That's all. Now, but for the application of the bracket trick, you should begin from sections that say write no more than two words and or a number. So in this case, when you see a word that says a word, when you see an answer that has maybe what do we have there? Dented uniforms.